Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the Hockey Podcast Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a sports betting perspective, with pro handicappers Alex B. Smith and veteran sports writer Jimmy Murphy. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Thursday, November 4th, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, Jimmy, and Andrew momentarily as well, ready to break down the Thursday NHL card. As always, plenty of games on a Thursday. But before we get to all of those, the big news of the day, it's over, finally. I don't have to hear about it. I don't have to wonder. I don't have to hear endless rumors and innuendo about this guy's involved and maybe they're going to trade that guy or this guy's maybe part of the package for Jack Eichel. And I don't have to hear any of this anymore. It's done. Jack Eichel is off to Sin City, Las Vegas, Nevada, and will be joining the Vegas Golden Knights as finally the trade is done. And he will be joining the Vegas Golden Knights, traded from the Buffalo Sabres in exchange, of course, for Peyton Krebs, Alex Tuch, future first round and second round pick, and a future third round pick as part of the deal as well for the Buffalo Sabres. One of those is top 10 dependent as well, so keep that in mind. But at the end of the day, the deal is done. All this talk, especially as it's picked up the last week or so, we were starting to hear last week, 10 days ago, about how it was so close to a deal being done for Jack Eichel. So it's good to see that it is finally done, and Jack Eichel can move on and go to the Vegas Golden Knights. He's finally now, of course, with this trade, is going to a team that's going to allow him to have that artificial disc replacement surgery in the neck that he was looking for all along with the Buffalo Sabres. So we're still looking at a timeline for Jack Eichel that he is not going to be with the Vegas Golden Knights until after the Olympic break. That's about the earliest that we can expect him to make his debut for the Vegas Golden Knights. But the bottom line is, it's done. I don't want to go into too much about who won the trade, who lost the trade. I think it's too soon to tell. We know Jack Eichel, when he's 100% healthy, when he's motivated and in a situation where he's happy and he can still be a dominant player and a superstar in the league potentially. And the question is now, get healthy after the surgery, and will we see that? So that's the question. As far as the Sabres are concerned, they're gambling a lot. You talk about this being a gambling show, a betting show. They're betting a lot that Peyton Krebs is going to be a franchise difference maker for the Buffalo Sabres moving forward. And, we've only seen him in little spurts here with the Vegas Golden Knights. I haven't seen it out of him yet in terms of that, that difference maker, that huge, big-time NHL top six forward yet, but maybe more opportunity in Buffalo will be good for Peyton Krebs. The Alex Tuch edition, it's a guy that, has been in the league and has proven scorer in the past for the Vegas Golden Knights. He's also had definitely a ton of issues with injuries the last couple of years, including this year. He hasn't played a game yet this year for Vegas, but it's a good veteran addition. Give you a little bit more punch offensively up front for the Sabres. So again, to me, this is not the right time to really evaluate who winners and losers of the trade, because there's just so many question marks. All I know is Buffalo is gambling a lot that Peyton Krebs is going to be a big-time player, and they better hope so. And Alex Tuch's going to be fine. That's a nice addition too. Draft picks, we'll see who they take. And for the Vegas side of things, you're going to have to hope Jack Eichel gets healthy and gets back to the level he played at times with Buffalo when he is healthy and when he's motivated and fired up. And certainly winning is probably going to be that fuel for him and that adrenaline rush that's going to make him a better player. And obviously there wasn't much winning going on for Jack Eichel with the Buffalo Sabres. So that's just my thoughts on the trade. But it's more than anything, guys, it's just good to see the trade is done. We don't have to speculate about it anymore. Alex, thoughts on the Eichel deal?
Yeah, personally, I'm sick to shit of hearing about it. So I'm glad that it's finally it's done.
You
and
and the rest of
settled.
the hockey world.
Yeah, right. And then the thing too is that it's like, okay, well, making this trade, and then you're wondering, like, was he going to be all right to play? Like, obviously, you have a speculation over, whether, what particular neck surgery should he have. That was the whole thing that started this mess. So you still got to, like you said, wait and see what's going to happen with Eichel. Maybe he doesn't come back and he's, not the same player anymore. We really don't know. So there's, like I said, there's a multitude of gambles on both ends with this deal. And I've heard mixed reviews about Peyton Krebs, even though it's very early in his career. Some people are saying that, Vegas won this trade. They kind of fleeced Buffalo because he's not going to really kind of pan out to be anything close to Eichel talent-wise. I've heard some people just say that, like I said, he'll be a serviceable player. So there's so many moving parts still as far as, what happens down the road. But like I said, just the fact that everything is done and settled, it should be a relief for not only just, like I said, all of us, but I'm sure the players in those respective locker rooms are tired of hearing about it as well. Buffalo's playing well right now, and they're going to get Alex Tuck back, like I said, within a month or two potentially, as he was currently on IR. So if they continue to play well, then they can say, hey, you know what, we're finally moving on. We're moving forward without Eichel. We don't have to hear about it again. Let's, try and continue to win with the players we've got on hand right now. So I'm sure everyone's just kind of, like I said, relieved. I think relief is basically the biggest word to use when describing this deal.
Yeah, relief for the teams that finally got the deal done, and relief for everybody not having to hear about it anymore. So you're right. Relief all around. Relief is the key word. I agree with that. Jimmy Murphy, who was just driven to almost, I don't know if he was driven to drink, but I'm sure he felt like it last night covering this thing and all the speculation and names like Kachuk and Monahan on the Calgary side maybe being in play, or how much was Calgary involved in tracking down a trade for Jack Eichel. And at the end of the day, it ended up being Vegas where he went to. But Jimmy was a busy man last night, weren't you, Jimmy?
Yeah, I was, guys. And, look, I know, as I reported there, that, Calgary really made a late push there. Names like Matthew Tkachuk and Sean Moynihan were on the table. I don't know how close that was to happening. I don't think Calgary ever wanted to deal Tkachuk for sure. Moynihan, I'm kind of up in the air from what I heard. I think that was more of a possibility. But then you look at it, and you look at the start that Calgary's had and the fact that they wouldn't get Eichel until later in the year. It's like, why would they mess with that roster right now? I know that they've underachieved for so many years, but they seem to finally be gelling. They seem to finally be realizing their potential. So it didn't make much sense there. But, hey, they made a late push, and I think that push is what pushed it over the top for Vegas to finally include Krebs in the deal, because all along that was what Kevin Adams wanted. He really wasn't going to do a deal with Vegas until Krebs was in there, and that's what happened, and that's why the deal got done. So I think it's a good deal for both sides. I like what Vegas gave Buffalo there. I like Buffalo's return. A lot of people are knocking it. I don't know why. I think it's a good deal for both sides. As long as Jack Eichel comes back healthy and can beat a Jack Eichel we know, then it's going to work out. It's going to be one of those great hockey trades in the end. And I really think, if Eichel's able to come back, I heard Elliot Friedman say late February, early March, and Vegas is able to stay in it with all the injuries they've had, and they get him and Carlson back by that time, and they're in playoff contention, then they're going to be really dangerous up the middle. And that's been one of the knocks in them, right, is their center depth. And now they have that. They've got the wings to go around them. So they're going to be a potent team if everyone can stay healthy come March, April, July, May and June, and into July if they keep playing into the Stanley Cup Finals. So we'll see what happens there. But, yeah, like Alex said, I'm so sick of reporting on it. I'm so sick and tired talking about it. I'm happy for Jack Eichel, too, because I can tell you I know a lot of people close to him, and he's in a lot of pain. And you can't imagine what it's been like for him to wake up every day or maybe not even get much sleep and deal with that pain and know that there's nothing he could do about it until he was traded. And he definitely felt like he was being held hostage by the Buffalo Sabres. So good for him that he's free to do that. And it looks like he'll get that surgery next week. And we'll see how this turns out down the road.
Yeah, Glenn in our chat's right. If Eichel comes back, he's healthy, plays like Eichel, he's fired up, he's happy, he's producing, he's being that difference maker, he's scoring, he's setting up his teammates, and just being a dynamo offensively, then obviously this is a great trade for Vegas. And it will be worth it for a team that, look, they're not hanging back now. This is go in, win a Stanley Cup time for Las Vegas. That's where they're at, the Golden Knights. There's nothing to hold back on. This is win now time for them. Yep. If you got a chance to bring in a Jack Eichel, you make the trade. And obviously today they have made that trade.
I think for fans too, guys, I mean, look at it now. You're going to get to see 4 times a year McDavid versus Eichel, the 2 top picks in the 2015 NHL entry draft, going head to head 4 times a year. So for entertainment value for us as hockey fans, and now we know that, TNT and ESPN are paying more attention to those specific teams and McDavid and getting them on a national broadcast. I think it's going to be great for hockey to see those guys go head to head so many times, and then potentially in the playoffs as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like what they're doing with the national TV schedule this year. Definitely better for sure. TNT, what they're doing than what NBC did for years. They're putting Connor McDavid and the Oilers on last week because, hey, it's Connor McDavid. Who cares? He plays for a Canadian team and it won't register in the ratings because it's not an American market. You put the best players on the ice or on your television, national TV games. And finally, I think TNT is doing that. Andrew, what were your thoughts on the Jack Eichel trade?
It took a little while for it to kind of register for me to kind of develop opinions. I was kind of going back and forth, and I looked at it more and more. And I think that Buffalo won this trade big time. I don't even think it's close. And it's funny because I've heard all kinds of different opinions, completely different than me. But this kind of and to Jimmy's point about the health, obviously you don't want to mess with someone's health. You don't want them to be restricted. But let's be honest here. I don't think if Jack Eichel was in 100% health, he'd be sitting here saying, let's go play hockey for the Buffalo Sabres. I still think he wanted to play for a different team, whether he was in tip-top shape or not. And to me, it just this is like the first, NBA-style trade we've seen in the NHL in some time now. You're playing for the Sabres that have been dog shit for years. And you see Jack Eichel's tweet. Did you guys see his tweet? It's Christmas morning for him, and a kid got everything he asked for from his parents for Christmas. That's what it seems like right now. I mean, the little kid got exactly what he wanted, gets to go to Sin City, a team that has so much talent, and put a smile on Jack Eichel's face and make the boy happy. He'll come back for playoff time, and all is good. I hope that, I'm not saying I hope he plays horribly, but I hope that Vegas, has some chemistry issues out the gate with him. And I hope that Tuck has so much success in Buffalo, because I feel like a player like him, it deserves it there. I mean, he probably does. He got recognition in Vegas, but I don't think he even got enough recognition in Vegas. I think that we're going to see that trade work out real well for the Buffalo Sabres. Last thing they wanted was a drama queen there anyway. They wanted to get it done. You guys use the word relief.
Whoa. How is Eichel a drama queen? Seriously, Andy. If you looked at the way that team is run by the Pagulas and the amateur phony GM they have and Kevin Adams,
I think they're both to blame personally.
No. The management is to blame, absolutely. But I'm judging just based off what I've seen today. I think that it looks like you have an NBA All-Star playing on the Detroit Pistons that just got traded for the LA Lakers. That's what it seems like to me.
Okay. For him though, why not?
No, good for him. Good for him. I'm just saying, I'm on the side where I think that Buffalo is going to flourish with that, and I don't understand how people are saying that Buffalo got a bag of pucks. That's just all.
Well, I'm
wound up, Jimmy, because I feel like everyone on Twitter and people that even articles I've read from verified writers like yourself are speaking like Eichel just went for nothing. And I think that I think Buffalo got a great haul back.
I just think that I don't know where this profile, this false image of Jack Eichel came from. He's not a prima donna, man. He just did what any other athlete would do. He wanted out of there. And I
feel bad for his injury, Jimmy.
But if you wanted out of Montreal right now,
I'm saying that I'm not saying that his health is something that I would never make fun of somebody or call them any names or anything because they wanted to get a surgery. I'm saying that he could be in tip-top shape right now, and he potentially would have been wanting to get out of Buffalo. That's what I'm saying.
But do you blame him?
I'm a huge guy that I like loyalty. That's one thing. I grew up playing basketball, and I cover NHL. I'm on NHL podcasts or hockey podcasts, and I don't like the NBA, Jimmy, because I hate that about the NBA. I hate that about basketball. Any player in the NBA today could say, I want to trade, and it just causes a whole thing. I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve to go play and have success, and I think he will. I mean, that line that he's going to be on, if he gets Pacioretty and Stone or the lines that he gets on, that could be one of the best lines in hockey. I think we could all agree on that, right up there with some of the best. And maybe I was harsh, and I appreciate Jimmy coming in and saying that, but my whole point is that Buffalo didn't get a bag of pucks. They got some great players.
You agree on that. I just think Eichel, a lot of people knocking Eichel, and I don't think it's fair because I don't think he did anything wrong. I mean, how is Buffalo loyal to him? What have they done that's been loyal to him besides give him a contract like any other team would do for a number 2 overall pick? But I'm just saying
he wore the C too, didn't he, Jimmy? I mean, he did wear the C. So they treated him maybe poorly in this situation, but all I'm saying is that let's pretend he's in tip-top shape right now. Because I'm not an asshole. I hope I'll retract anything I said that made it sound like I think someone shouldn't demand a surgery. I'm saying if he was in 100% health right now, he might not want to be a Buffalo Sabre, and the same thing would probably be happening.
Well,
Am
yeah,
I wrong?
He'd have to have his mental health checked if he wanted to be a Buffalo Sabre. The organization is a joke. I don't know, man. Maybe it's because I know him, and I know his family, and I know people that are close to him. So I'm not speaking objectively here, but I just think that he's getting there's been a narrative that he's a prima donna that's been sent out by the Buffalo ownership and management, and it's not correct, because you can go talk to any of his teammates. They all loved him. And
he seems like a great guy. He seems like a great guy.
I don't see how he ever did anything wrong. And then the fact that they held him hostage and they didn't let him get his surgery.
When he's in pain, he's in obvious pain. He said it.
Yeah. Let me retract and rephrase then, if you can give me the chance to. The drama in general, from just in general in the air, all of us are using the word relief. I think both parties, management and Jack Eichel, will be happy to have that over with. To your point, nobody wants to be a Buffalo Sabre. Nobody wants to be a Detroit Piston. All I'm saying is, if the Detroit Pistons gave me X amount of money, I would do my best to make sure I'm playing for that team. And it just seems to me right now like someone just hit the jackpot and they're going to play for the Lakers to win an NBA championship. And that just rubs me the wrong way. That's all. And I'm just trying to take the side of the Sabres in the fact that I feel like they, again, got more than a bag of pucks, and I hate that people are saying
There's
that.
a big difference with the NBA players doing what they do and what Jack's done. The NBA players didn't have a team that was not letting them have neck surgery to alleviate a painful injury in petty fashion. That's the big difference.
But I get what Andrew's saying. Now if Eichel all of a sudden, let's say he comes back fine, and then Vegas gets bounced the first round, and then they have a slow start next season, now all of a sudden he's doing the same thing. He wants to trade out of Vegas. Now then we could start.
Exactly. I'll agree with that. Yep.
Yeah. You can't compare Jack Eichel to say what Kevin Durant did years ago. Yeah. That was just
never asked out of Buffalo until this whole surgery dispute came up. I mean, he never once said, I want out before any of this happened. He always stayed loyal to them until they decide to be complete assholes to him.
And I don't like that either. Yeah. I guess my passion is just stemming from Jimmy. All the articles
I don't like that either about the NBA, man. I'm totally with you, but I just think that, and I'm not blaming you, I understand it. I think that there's been a false narrative that's been put out there, and maybe it's influencing right now what you think would have happened even if he was healthy. I don't think this happens if he's healthy. He's not asking out if he's healthy.
If that's the case, I respect it. And he
wanted to win a cup in that city, man. He loved those fans. And I'm with you though. I mean, I don't see how anybody could say that Buffalo got a raw deal in the trade. They did well, and I don't like Kevin Adams, but hey, he got what he wanted. He wanted Krebs, and he wasn't going to do it until he got him. So
I will say something about what Jimmy just said though about he loved the fans. Where's that thank you to the fans tweet from Jack Eichel? I haven't seen it yet.
How good have the fans treated him though over the last year since this started?
Yeah, you got to say something. You can't just put Vegas, baby Vegas, and not say tickety boo about the fan base.
That Photoshop didn't take too long to make, did it?
That's not classy. He should do it He should be the bigger man.
Correct.
I wouldn't want to do it after the stuff people are saying about me right now. But if
whoever's doing his Photoshop though it must be getting paid a pretty dime, or he's copy and pasting from somewhere, because that's pretty smooth Photoshop he had on his Twitter. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I think a lot of these guys don't even work their Twitter handle. I don't think it's them.
Yeah, they pay guys to put it all up there for sure. So that's that. We'll close the book on the Jack Eichel stuff. It's good. It's done.
I will say that line's going to be nasty. I mean, the chemistry probably should be pretty sick for the Vegas Golden Knights. It should be a fun team to watch with him on there.
Yeah. It will be. Yeah,
how are they going to get out of that cap mess though? That's going to be interesting.
That's the thing. You're going to have cap. That's why you better win. You better win. And look, I heard they might try to bury one of their Stone maybe in long-term injured reserve. So do the Kucherov thing.
This is interesting.
Yeah, it will be.
Well, yeah, I mean it might I don't think they're going to like intentionally do it. It might conveniently work because the thing is that he's got a back issue, and the timetable for that is kind of unknown. So it might just kind of work. And hell, if they find a way to win without these guys, if they can get in playoff positioning, they could probably afford to bury Eichel and Stone and then have them come back in the postseason. So.
Yeah.
I gotta ask Jimmy. Just one more question, Ian. I gotta follow up. I'm just curious because I was kind of making all those statements. What's the reaction around, and what's the longevity here if he's going to play for, I don't know, the Kings or the Coyotes? Obviously, no one wants to play on a horrible team, but what are we all talking about here in the next year if he's going to play? I mean, You know what I mean?
I think
That's
it would
all.
have been the Kings. Like I said yesterday, I wouldn't be worried about the Kings. I think the Kings are on the rise.
You get my point, though.
Eichel trade would have raided their system, that's a whole other question.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Coyotes, I don't know, man. I don't even know if the Coyotes are going to be there next year. So.
Yeah, well, yeah.
We could do a whole show.
That's a whole different story. That's a whole other show that we'd have to do to talk about.
I hope there's somewhere where they off the ice. Yeah. Up in Quebec, that's where I hope they end up. But we'll see.
Yeah, that which could be. And they're chomping at the bit. They got a building ready. They got ownership ready. They're ready for hockey in Quebec City. So that will happen. It's a question of.
We know Air Canada won't be a sponsor, though.
Yes, exactly. Well said. All right. Thursday card, let's get to it. New York Islanders, Montreal Canadiens. New York Islanders minus 130, road favorites 5.5. The total shaded to the under in this game. Man, the Islanders have been on the road for a very, very long time. At least the one bit of good news is the NHL's tried to give them some time in between all these road games to try to let them decompress, get some rest, get their legs under them, like kind of what's happening going into tonight. They haven't played since Saturday. They lost in a shootout to the Nashville Predators 3-2. Before that, they beat Vegas and Arizona, beat Chicago. And other than that, though, it's been an up and down start for Barry Trotz and the Islanders, just 3-4 here in their first 7 games. They'll be looking to bounce back after the Nashville loss here against Montreal. The Canadiens coming off a 3-0 shutout against Detroit. So that's 2 wins for them against Detroit already this year. So, and unfortunately, you can't play Red Wings 82 games. So how are you going to fare here against the Islanders? They did play a better defensive game, which was good to see. And it kind of looks like Montreal might be getting back to playing that kind of style, a little bit lower scoring, tight checking, knowing that, hey, if we're going to hang in games, we cannot be, opening the game up and playing run and gun hockey. And that got this very, very patchwork defense in trouble. Let's be honest. The Habs are shorthanded right now on the blue line. Weber may not play another game for them or any NHL team. They've got Edmondson out. They've got a couple others out. Now, the good news is Sherratt and Petrie are still there, but, you're playing guys like Chris Weidman and Brett Kulak. Brett Kulak's not good. I'm sorry. I've seen enough of him. He's not very good. You got to play him now more minutes for the Montreal Canadiens. So what you make up for is, don't give up those odd man rushes. Don't really chase the game. Be sound, be sturdy, really try to play airtight and let your offense flow from that. And I think that's kind of the way they approached that game against Detroit the other night. So the under definitely makes sense. The Islanders are certainly trending under the total in this game. 5 straight unders for the Islanders. You look at Montreal after the road trip. They wanted to clean it up defensively. They did that in the 3-0 win against Detroit. So the under makes some sense to me. Could only look at the Islanders here, but I got to admit, I don't love the price at minus 130 or so, but I lean Islanders and the under here in this one. Alex, Islanders, Canadiens.
Yes, I'll more than likely be passing on this game. If anything, I would probably look to hopefully see if there's a goal scored very early and then jump on a live under at 6.5. I don't want to lay $1.35 with under 5.5 because things can go haywire and all of a sudden you get a couple of goals late to push that over the total. So it'll be a pass, but I might circle that. And if I do see a goal in the first 2-3 minutes, to jump in on an in-game under.
All right, Jimmy, what do you like here? Islanders, Habs.
You know what? I love the under in this. I'm with you guys on this right now. I mean, obviously, I think that the Islanders are really trying to just go back to their roots and play their type of game. They kind of got away from that in the beginning of the season. And I think right now that they're going to try and get that under going and really solidify the defense. And then you look at Montreal with the game they played the other night. I mean, I don't think you can replicate that every night. That was almost a perfect performance from the Montreal.
I wish they could, Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, every team would love to do it. But I think that if they can do anything close to that and really just tighten up the middle there, they're going to be all right. So I like that under. I think it's a great call.
All right, liking the under. Ilya Sorokin, very good numbers, by the way, in net for the Islanders this year. Jake Allen, a little bit more up and down for him, but obviously the team helped him out the other night against Detroit in a much better performance. Andrew, what do you like here?
I want to look at an Ian Cameron strategy here, one that I have to take note of and make sure I do as well. And it is looking at a player to get involved on the score sheet after getting their first goal of the year and getting some points. And I think you probably know who I'm talking about here, Ian, and that's Nick Suzuki. I'm going to look at him to get on the board here. I think it's a really good price at plus 300 for him to score. It's actually, you can still get a pretty good price on him to just get a point in this game at minus 120. So I think that we're going to see that line get going finally. That line's been kind of hurting them a little bit. We haven't really seen too much production out of them. But I won't take too much time. I mean, you guys are right. I think if the game script goes the way both teams would like it to, then the game should stay under. Dominic Ducharme said that puck support is what he wants. I mean, the players kind of talk about it, supporting each other both ways. I watch pretty much every single post-game press conference that I can. Sometimes I even hear Jimmy's voice in a couple of them for the Bruins. And, I like to hear some good quotes. And I find that when you just watch highlights on TV, they'll only show you the juicy ones. I want to hear all the conversation. And it just sounds like every player bought into the back checking. So we'll see if that plays a huge factor. But I might even look at the first period under here, guys, because like Alex said, couple goals here and there in the second period, that game gets away from us. But I think both teams might try and stick to their game plan and at least have a good defensive start there.
All right, good stuff. Vegas and Ottawa, we've got the Golden Knights minus 110, minus 115, road favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. There's people saying that Vegas, going into this game, they're going to be so excited to play tonight because of the trade. Well, they're not going to see Eichel on the ice for months. So how excited can they possibly be? Obviously they're happy that they're going to have him at some point, but it's not like he's going to be on the ice tonight or even in the next week or two. Talking months before he finally makes his Golden Knights debut. Obviously, Vegas is very much banged up. A lot of us like Toronto in regulation the other night against the Vegas Golden Knights, and Toronto shuts them out 4-0. I mean, this is a lot to overcome. It was not just Pacioretty and Stone before, Zach Whitecloud on the blue line, but now it's William Karlsson as well with a foot injury. He'll be out for a month and a half, it looks like right now. And you could tell Vegas just struggled against the Leafs, and they're not a team I'm looking to lay a price with on the road. It would be Ottawa or pass for me. Ottawa is 3-2 at home this year. They do have a winning home record going into this game. They are off a really tough loss against Minnesota. They fell behind early. It was a back and forth, higher scoring affair. Tied the game, took the lead 4-3, and then Minnesota tied it up, won in overtime 5-4. I would only look Ottawa here in this game. I'm not in a rush to lay a price with Vegas right now, just too injury riddled. And look, Ottawa's not Toronto, at least on paper, but it's just too many injuries for Vegas, and it's really impacting negatively their performance as a team. And to be honest with you, I need better from Robin Lehner. Robin Lehner's been kind of up and down this year for the Golden Knights in net. So for me in this game, it would only be a look toward Ottawa. Don't love it because of the spot for Ottawa, 3rd and 4 nights in terms of the schedule, but I lean Ottawa for sure. Alex, what do you think here, Golden Knights and Sens?
I really like this first period over. I got it minus $1.20 over 1.5 goals. You look at Vegas, 8-1 with a goal scored in the first 10 minutes so far this season. You got Ottawa that's in the same spot, 7-2. They are also 6-3 to the first period over so far. So both these teams are trying to get off the fast starts, and obviously, like I said, with Vegas having offensive issues, they should be able to try to find some solace in the fact that Ottawa's letting in goals in bunches. We saw how crazy that game was with Ottawa and Minnesota the other night. So this is definitely a spot where we can see Vegas, they want to try to jump ahead and get a goal early. This is the team to do it against, and vice versa for the Senators. So I think we'll see a couple of goals here early. That's the only thing I'm looking at. I don't want any part of either side.
All right, Vegas, Ottawa, over 1.5 first period for Alex. Jimmy, Vegas, Ottawa. Oh, I think, Jimmy, we've lost him. All right, Andrew, Vegas, Ottawa.
There we go. We got Jimmy.
Oh, Jimmy's back. There you go, Jimmy. Go ahead.
Oh, just unmute your mic. You're good. Weird, it won't unmute for him. Oh, there you go. You're good.
Yeah, I'm here, guys. Sorry, my computer froze there. You know what, guys? This game is a bit confusing for me, but one thing in terms of the side, but one thing I do like here is goals. I think we're going to see a back and forth game here. Almost feel like maybe we could see an OT or a shootout. I think it goes back and forth, and we see a lot of goals. Give me the over.
Over 5.5 here with Vegas, Ottawa. Yeah, the numbers come down here a little bit in this game between these two teams. It went from 6 down to 5.5 here. Vegas has been trending under, but not so much Ottawa. Of course, they were involved in some higher scoring games back-to-back against Chicago and Minnesota. And the last time they were at home, they gave up 7 to the Washington Capitals, 7-5 in that game. It's just a question of whether Vegas, with all the injuries up front, can maybe cash in on an Ottawa team that we've seen the last few games has been giving up some goals. Andrew, what do you think your Golden Knights and Sens?
Yeah, right there with Jimmy, right there with him. I was Alex's best bet the other day was one of my favorite bets on the board, and that was Minnesota and Ottawa over 5.5. It's just nice in general, guys, to get a 5.5 with this Ottawa Senators team. So yeah, I like what Jimmy said. I'm on the over as well. And I was saying earlier today that some people might call us kind of nuts for backing an over with the Vegas team right now, wondering who's going to score the goals. These are still NHL players. There's still some great guys on that lineup despite some of the injuries. And, I always talk about how young the Senators are, but when you're young, every shift's a new shift. I feel like they have the memory of a goldfish, which is awesome offensively, but I also feel like, they might miss a couple assignments back checking, or there might be some odd man rushes going the other way. So this should be a fun game to watch. And let's be honest, it was not a good performance for Vegas against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they'll want to right that ship right away here against a lower team here in the Atlantic Division. And I can't really say much because my Montreal Canadiens aren't doing very well either. But it should be a better bounce back opportunity for Vegas Golden Knights.
All right, next up, we got Tampa Bay and Toronto. Toronto minus 140, home favorites here, 5.5 the total in this one. Leafs playing better hockey, 3 straight wins for them, although the first one against a really good team came against the Vegas goal, albeit banged up, shorthanded, 4-0 last night. But it was a really good, solid, complete game. You took advantage of a team that's losing some key pieces and a team that is struggling a little bit right now in the Ottawa Senators. And Toronto was good at both ends of the ice. From the goaltender, Jack Campbell, on out. Their big guns scored all the goals. Mitch Marner, Austin Matthews, William Nylander. That's what you want to see. I mean, if only Sheldon Keefe could bottle up that performance and transfer it with him for the rest of the season, everything would be great for the Leafs. But it doesn't always work that way. So a lot, especially with this Leafs team. Sometimes you see a great game and you see a not so good game after that. You got Tampa, 3 straight wins for them. 5-1 over Pittsburgh, 5-1 over Arizona, and a 3-2 win against Washington the other night. Penalty trouble for Washington really cost them in that game. It's interesting to see how this one goes. Total sitting at 5.5 here in this one. I lean over at 5.5, which is not a total we see often with the Lightning or the Leafs. And we did see Toronto's big guns step up, get going the other night. That could be something maybe that goes into this game. But obviously the Leafs blue line, which has played better the last few games, will be tested by Tampa a little bit. And when you look at series history with the Lightning and the Leafs, the one thing we've seen, nothing but 6, 6.5, and even a couple 7s with totals in this series history between these two teams. So for me, it's not a best bet. It's a small bet because I respect the defensive game and goaltending we've seen from both teams lately. But at 5.5, I'm going to take advantage of a much lower total than we've seen with Lightning versus Leafs games recently. So for me, I'll go over 5.5 here. Alex, Lightning and Leafs.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to make my card as other plays I like, but the only thing I would be looking at here would be the over 5.5. Because he said, this is a Tampa Bay team. They're still trying to get their legs under them as far as goaltending is concerned. They're not going to be playing a lot of shutdown hockey right at this moment. And everybody looking at the last game for Toronto. Okay, 4-0. They shut out a Vegas team. We just talked about the how anemic this offense is for Vegas. So that's not really saying a whole lot either. So I could definitely see this going over 5.5. I don't think it's going to be a track meet like we've seen in recent years, but I should get over that number.
Yeah, definitely big. That's the one thing that stuck out to me when I first looked at this game. When I started looking at the card for tonight, was that 6.5, 6.5, a 7 or 2, and as well in the last few years with these two teams head to head. And here we are, 5.5. Talk about a major difference with tonight's total compared to all of those ones. Jimmy, what do you think here? Tampa, Toronto.
Yeah, guys, I'm looking at the side here, and I think a Jimmy puck line is going to come out on this one. I think this is a huge game for the Toronto Maple Leafs, a measuring stick type game of where they really are. Yes, they've turned things around recently, but really, who have they beaten? Now they go up against a defending 2-time back-to-back champions on home ice. They're going to be jacked up for this right now. Tampa's kind of been a roller coaster so far this season. I think this game means way more to the Toronto Maple Leafs right now than it does to the Tampa Bay Lightning. So give me the Leafs on the puck line.
All right, Jimmy puck line there, Toronto -1.5, and I agree with you fully. I agree. I would only look Leafs here in this game, but I don't love the price, and I don't fully trust this team still. But I understand what you're saying. I do believe like they played as good a hockey game for 60 minutes as I've seen the Leafs play in a very long time the other night against Vegas. So can they bottle that up, bring it to Tampa? Look, a much healthier and complete team right now than Vegas. Let's be honest, Vegas is banged up, but if they bring something similar tonight against the Lightning, they should be in good shape. We'll see. Andrew, what do you think here, Tampa Bay, Toronto?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I can promise you guys that Jimmy and I weren't at Tim Hortons picking up these coffees together. We weren't hanging out, going over our cards together. But I'll just echo what Jimmy said. I feel the exact same way. I like the Leafs. I don't have the balls to go puck line, but I like the money line for the Maple Leafs tonight. And I think that confidence is a huge thing with this Maple Leafs team. If there's anything that I learned from watching that All or Nothing Amazon series with the Leafs, I'm not saying they're sensitive. I'm just saying that maybe their top guys, it's not the best strategy to call them out in front of the team type of thing. Mitch Marner scoring back-to-back goals, highlight reel for the second one, big for him. Matthews getting on the board. I always chirp the Leafs about not having depth, but when it comes down to it, you need your top guys to be your top guys, and then the depth can follow through. And I like what you guys said about them not beating top-tier teams yet. I don't really care. They've just gotten some wins. They played solid hockey last time around. Let's see if they can do it at home. And I think at home is a huge thing here as well. If this is in Tampa Bay, maybe a little bit of a different story for my handicap.
There you go. Like in Toronto, a little safer for Andrew, though, -135, -140 to get the job.
Maybe when I'm
done
Jimmy's
here.
age, I'll have the big balls he has.
Yeah,
Hey,
no doubt.
age is a sensitive thing today.
Yeah, but definitely, it feels like if there's a time for the Leafs to be in the position mentally, for confidence-wise, to finally win a game like this against Tampa Bay, it's tonight. So I'm
Jimmy,
with
did
you.
you
I
say,
would only look Toronto as well.
those are sensitive things too? What did you say? Did you call them? Did you
No,
say I am?
said age is a sensitive thing today, man. I turned 47 today.
Oh yeah, it's your
Happy
birthday.
birthday,
Yeah,
Jimmy.
happy
Thank you.
birthday. Yeah.
No, I remember seeing that
Oh, man.
online that it was your birthday. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Or congratulations, happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday, man.
Yeah, that's why the glasses are on.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Okay, now it makes sense. Birthday sunglasses. Yeah,
Yeah.
You're not trying to do a Corey Hart impression there.
Bob
Sunglasses.
You look good for 40, brother. You look good, man.
Yeah. Thanks,
Yeah.
brother.
Happy birthday to our own Jimmy Murphy. Yes, and many more to come
you.
for sure. Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Keystone State rivalry back on tonight between these two teams. Penguins -120, home favorites, 6 the total in this one. Of course, the Penguins, the news broke earlier this week. They're battling COVID problems once again, including Sidney Crosby. I mean, man, you talk about a team that's just snake bit right now with bad luck and injuries, and now COVID-19 again striking them at a bad time. It's tough. I mean, Crosby, Malkin, Rust up front, Pettersson, Ruedel, Dumoulin, another one involved in the COVID situation. Chris Letang's day-to-day. So again, once again, the Penguins, just when they're starting to get a little bit healthier, and now all of a sudden they're without just a ton of key impact players, not only on the blue line, but up front as well. It certainly feels like a spot for the Flyers to take advantage of that going into this hockey game. The Flyers returning home off a road trip, shutting out Arizona 3-0. Philadelphia has actually surprised me a little bit. They had a good road trip in Western Canada. I mean, the Calgary game, they got dominated. That was a bad game. But before that, they beat Vancouver. They handed the Edmonton Oilers their only loss so far this year. Yeah, so they've actually played some better hockey of late. 3 of their last 4. They're actually 5-2 in their last 7 games going into this one. It's just there's too many key players out for the Penguins. It's kind of like a Vegas situation starting to develop here with Pittsburgh. How on earth can you trust a team with all this key personnel out of the lineup to be able to win hockey games right now? There's just not 1 or 2 guys. This is a slew. Cluster injuries on the blue line and up front, cluster absences, I should say, COVID and injuries combined, not only up front, but on the blue line. So for me, it's Philadelphia here at a small road underdog price. Alex, Flyers, Penguins.
Yeah, the only thing I would look at here would be the over. These are two teams that they don't like each other. We tend to see this happen often where rivals, clash, and there's a bunch of penalties taken, a lot of power plays, a lot of 4-on-4 opportunities, and you end up seeing goals being scored. We talk about it all the time about how Carter Hart, his numbers are better at home than on the road. If it's Tristan Jarry, and that Tristan Jarry is kind of in the same vein, he plays better at home than on the road. But I think this is going to be one of those games where we see back and forth, even with, obviously, like I said, Crosby and Dumoulin being gone. That's a big blow for Pittsburgh, but they've already kind of weathered the storm without Crosby. It seems like he's hardly been there for most of the season anyway. So, guys just have to step up, like they have for the first couple of weeks for the Penguins in order to get some goals. But it's not going to be an official play, but I look toward the over.
Lean towards the over. It's a tricky game because series history is over, Flyers and Penguins, but there's so many injuries for Pittsburgh. Philly's been trending under lately in their games. So, yeah, it's kind of a split. You're going back and forth. At least I am. I'm going back and forth when it comes to the total in this game. Jimmy, what about you? Flyers, Penguins?
Well, I'm just looking at it right now, and you guys said, look at all these injuries for Pittsburgh, and then to get your captain back, arguably still one of the best players in the game, Sidney Crosby, and then boom, he's gone again. It's got to be a tough mental break, not just in terms of the skill you're losing there, but just you're trying to get things together and feel normal again, and all of a sudden, boom, he's gone again. So I don't understand how the Penguins are favored in this game, to be honest, because the eyeball test lately, I think Philly's been playing some great hockey. And like you said, they're playing tight hockey too. Carter Hart's been great in net. So I'm going to go with a bigger Jimmy puck line here. Give me the alternate puck line on the Philadelphia Flyers tonight in Pittsburgh.
There we go. That's it. Jimmy will throw out the alternative puck line from time to time, and he's going to do it here with the Philadelphia Flyers in this one. And you can get Philly -1.5 plus 275 is the price in that game. That's a hell of a price for sure. Like in the Flyers in this one. Yeah, I agree about the Carter Hart stuff, but I actually thought Carter Hart played the Calgary game. He played well. The Edmonton game gave up 3 goals, but not a lot of them were his fault.
Yeah.
And if not for him in the Calgary game on the road, it could have been a lot worse than 4-0 that night because the Flyers were just stuck in mud. They were just not in it physically, mentally, otherwise. They were not in that game whatsoever. And Carter Hart actually, I thought, kept them in it for a very long time. All right, Andrew, what do you think here, Philly and Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I'm on a little bit of a different page. I actually think it's a short price on Pittsburgh, and I think it's a good bounce back spot for them. I look at that last game, and maybe I'm just too high on Pittsburgh, but I thought that game was not a good one from them. I think that there have been a team that's been able to regroup and look at what went wrong, and it definitely is a shame. I mean, Crosby comes back, and I got to get your guys' thoughts. Like, Jimmy, have you seen it when you've been covering NHL? A penalty shot get called like we saw it get called against Crosby like that? Do you remember what I'm talking about? I mean, that's a penalty.
Jersey game,
yeah,
that's a penalty, but that's not a penalty shot.
Well, when you're Sidney Crosby.
Yeah, exactly. But I look at Philadelphia. They've had a great year so far, guys, and I've been saying that I think that it's got to be an eye test type thing. Figuring out which teams are for real, which teams aren't, and when one of those teams will start to regress a little bit. And I think Philadelphia has just played a little bit above their means here. Call me crazy because I'm going to keep saying the same thing about this Flyers team, but I still haven't really seen much out of anybody besides a couple top guys for them. So one thing, and I don't think anybody can deny this about the Pittsburgh Penguins, whether it's been Malkin out throughout the years, Crosby out throughout the years, this guy out, they've gotten support. So we'll see if they can do it again. And to Alex's point,
that is true. Is
it a real big loss not having Sid out there? I mean, he played one game this year and he was practically the reason why they lost. And this is coming from a Maritimer that loves Sid. And I know how great he is, but my whole point is that I feel like their depth has the ability to get it done. And I see Chris Letang is still listed as question mark for tonight, but if he's back in, it could help the team. So I'm on the Penguins locked in -120.
All right, like in Pittsburgh here in a bounce back. And Tristan Jarry didn't have one of his better games. That's the thing with Jarry. He can look good sometimes, and New Jersey was not one of his better games in net for the Penguins in that game. So keep that in mind. So we'll see how this one goes here tonight in this one. Should be interesting, though, because you got this banged-up Pittsburgh team that's shown the ability to win without some key players before, but they've lost 4 or 5. Kind of scuffling, kind of leaking oil. We'll see if they can turn it around tonight. We've got Detroit and Boston next up. Boston -260 home favorites, 5.5 the total in this one. Shaded to the under. Yeah, it is it's a big price because look, Detroit's kind of got some issues right now. We saw them get shut out by Montreal the other night in that one. Of course, they were without some key players, but Bertuzzi will be back because now they're playing in the States again in Boston. So you will have Tyler Bertuzzi.
But no Larkin.
No Larkin, yeah.
Larkin's still out with a personal matter that he's tending to right now. So they'll miss him, but 3 losses in a row for Detroit. But the thing is, the Montreal game, they got shut out, but they had no Bertuzzi, no Larkin. Before that, though, 3-2 win over Washington, 3-2 loss in overtime to Florida. They took Toronto to the limit, 5-4. I'm tempted by that, at least the plus 1.5 goals here, at the very least.
Are these people deciding these lines? Are they watching the Bruins lately?
Yeah, and Boston did beat Florida and handed the Panthers their first loss on Saturday night against the Panthers 3-2. But coin flip game, could have went either way. Before that, they lost to Carolina,
play the best game of his life. They don't win that game.
I'm with Jimmy. I think that price seems to be the most over-exaggerated one of the day.
Yeah.
But Jimmy, the fact is, it doesn't matter what we think. It matters what people are going to bet. And people still love the Bruins.
Ian's nailing it there. I like the plus 1.5. I mean, this is, guys, I'm watching this Bruins team. There's a lot of issues going on with that Bruins team right now. Yeah, they won, I think, and that could be the type of win they need to finally get going. We'll see, but there's just a lot of stuff going on right now that I don't like, that I see in practice and I see in games.
Yeah, and their defensive game, you're right. They've been caught. They've been making mistakes with the puck. They've been transition games have been, you said, the transition offense has really hurt Boston.
Swayman, 2 losses in a row, and he's in net tonight.
And Swayman's in net. And look, Swayman's going through his first little rough patch here in the NHL. He played really well for most of last season when he got the nod. But so far this year, 1-2, an .893 save percentage so far for Jeremy Swayman coming into this game. So, yeah, I feel this is a lot. A big price here. I feel like I want to play it a little bit safer though with the plus 1.5 because I could see Boston winning by 1. They are good at home. Detroit's though lost a lot of 1-goal games. Look at this Detroit season so far, and I know without Larkin that's going to hurt, but at least they got Bertuzzi back, and they've got Zadina's been stepping up for them a little bit offensively as well for the Red Wings. They got Adam Ernie as well, Pius Suter, Lucas Raymond. Lucas Raymond, by the way, might be worth a look for goal scorer prop tonight. He's moving up to the top line tonight for the Detroit Red Wings, and he's been a nice bright light at times for them offensively. But you look at these Detroit games, the ones they've lost, aside from the Montreal games, 1-goal loss to Toronto, to Florida. They beat Washington. They at Tampa Bay, the first game of the year, they lost 7-6 in overtime, 1-goal game. So I think the plus 1.5, which is plus 100, even money. I think that's something I'll bet. I like that price, and just to lose by a goal, even money, I think that's something to look at. Alex, how about you?
The Bruins aren't blowing teams out.
No, they're not. They're not. They're winning a lot of close games too. Detroit's losing a lot of close games. So I do, and again, you're not going to get plus 1.5 goal. It's a bet I don't make very often because a lot of the time you're laying minus 180 or minus 200 with plus 1.5 goals with the underdog. Here it's even money, plus 100. So I like that one in this game. Alex, Detroit, Boston.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I like that plus 1.5, except even money. And if based on what you guys are all saying about Boston now, that like I said, that they're not in good form, and we've seen the close games and back and forth battles that we've seen with Detroit. Obviously, getting Bertuzzi back is going to be a big addition for them. That they were missing him those last 2 games for sure. But this, like I said, seems like it could be a close battle. So I'm going with the 1.5 as well. And I'm also going to take the draw. Get it at plus 350 right now. That makes total sense to me, especially if we do see some offensive struggles. This could be a 2-2 or 1-1 game potentially because both teams are trending toward the under right now as well. So I think plus 350, you're getting a really good value with that because of how inflated this line is in favor of Boston.
Yeah, it is. It's a big one. And like I say, Detroit's just been one of those teams that, for the most part this year, they've been competitive. They've been right in a majority of their games. So, Andrew, you're on the same page here?
Yeah, I'm on the same page. I think it's a good opportunity to look at a team like that and just, I don't know. I think I hate using this word in handicapping, but let's challenge this Bruins team to blow a team out. That's kind of, I'm challenging them to put up some big numbers.
They're not there in my eyes yet, guys. They really aren't. I haven't seen that win was a good emotional win, and maybe that's what they needed. We'll see. But have you seen anything where they've had that said it was a convincing win? I haven't seen that yet from the Bruins, and I don't think that that's why they're not justified to be minus 230. That's just ridiculous.
And you can't even parlay piece them either because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
You're not getting any value.
Exactly. You almost screw it up.
Yeah.
All right, so there you go. Like in Detroit as well, the puck line +1.5. You could sprinkle on the +230 as well. I wouldn't talk you out of that, but I think +1.5 is even better because Boston 1-goal win could be in the cards, and wouldn't shock me to see that happen for sure. All right, Washington, Florida. We've got Florida -150, home favorites, 6 the total in this game. Panthers, for the first time this year, they've got to try to respond to a loss in their next game. Of course, they lost their first game against the aforementioned Bruins 3-2 on Saturday in a shootout. They'll be looking to bounce back from that. TJ Oshie, Nick Dowd still out for the Capitals, and Capitals offense is kind of suffering a little bit without Oshie. They've only scored 6 goals in their last 3 games.
Yeah.
2 goals against Detroit, 2 against Arizona, and 2 against Tampa in a loss the other night. So they do miss Oshie. Oshie had been just a huge offensive catalyst for the Capitals prior to his injury. On the flip side, though, man, you've got some injuries mounting for Florida. Sam Bennett not going to play, upper body injury. Radko Gudas and Marcus Nudavara on the blue line are questionable tonight. Anton Lundell out indefinitely. So, injuries starting to pile up just a little bit for Florida. Obviously, they've got a lot more depth than they've ever had in the past. They've still got their top 6 forward group for the most part, outside of Bennett, that is, largely intact, but there are some concerning injuries starting to mount. You're going into your depth a little bit on the blue line. And like I said, the one thing that I'm concerned with for Florida is I love their top 6 defensemen this year, but if they start getting injured back there and you're seeing Kevin Connaughton and Chase Prisky going to be the 5 and 6 defensemen tonight for the Florida Panthers, that's a little bit of a weaker group now that you're not going to have Gudas and you're not going to have Nudavara tonight on the blue line. So that means a lot of minutes and a lot of responsibility on the top 4, Weegar, Ekblad, Forsling, and Montour for the Panthers. So going to be interesting to see how that goes. This total sitting at 6, lean to the over because it is a series history that's trended over. I just don't like, though, that Washington has really scuffled offensively the last 3 games. So it's taken some of my enthusiasm for the over kind of away from this game, but I would still bet it at least for something small when you look at 5 straight over, 6-5, 5-4, 5-3, 5-4, 4-3 series history with these 2 teams. So for that reason, smaller bet on the over, and maybe hopefully tonight Capitals. And again, maybe the Capitals will find some offense because, again, talking about a Panthers blue line, 2 of their 6 starting defensemen out tonight due to injury. So that could maybe be a little bit of a spark for a kind of a stagnating Washington Capital offense the last 3 games. Alex, what do you think here? Capitals, Panthers.
This is another game I like the draw on. I got it plus 320, and I could definitely see this. Like I said, if it were to go over, it probably would still be a 3-3 game after 60 minutes of play. We've seen back-to-back games for Florida going to overtime. 3 of the last 5 meetings between these 2 teams are going to overtime. I just saw that in the chat as well. So, like I said, Washington's offense is sputtering. They could be able to get, some scoring going against this Florida team because of the issues they have. Like I said, missing guys on the blue line. But I just kind of see this being a tight back-and-forth spot. Wouldn't be shocked to see Washington win in an OT. So, a slight lean toward them at the plus price. But I feel more comfortable with the draw here, plus 320.
All right, there's another draw. It feels like we could have some close, competitive, tightly contested games tonight. And yeah, this definitely feels and looks like it could be another one of those. Jimmy, what about you? Caps, Panthers.
Well, usually, guys, when I look at a game like this, I'd be going with the over, I would think, with the Panthers and Caps. But I'm feeling under in this right now with the way Bobrovsky's been playing, the way the Capitals are struggling to score right now. I like this under a lot, so I'm going to go with that. I'm not touching the side.
All right, under for Washington, Florida. Andrew, Washington, Florida.
Yeah, guys, honestly, I there's 4 of us here, so I won't waste much time. It's going to be a game I look forward to cracking a cold one and just watching. I don't really have a betting take here.
No, I think Florida can win, but I don't want to lay minus 150, and I don't like the injuries that they've incurred. And look, this is kind of that. They've had this amazing start. Your bubble gets burst. You lose your first game, and sometimes teams lose a couple more after that. So I worry about that for Florida here tonight. I still love this team, and I'll be backing them in a bunch of spots this season. Rest assured. Tonight, though, is not going to be one of those spots. All right, let's take a minute to pause for DraftKings. Mention them, our great sponsors here at the Hockey Podcast Network, as well as, of course, the Ice Guys. DraftKings, of course, the official sports betting partner of both the NFL and the NHL as well. And a reminder, if you're a new customer, take advantage of this. You can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game. And if they do, you win $200 in free bets. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. It's that simple. If the DraftKings Sportsbook, if you're in a state where you can't use the DraftKings Sportsbook, don't worry. You can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports Contest. DraftKings giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game and win $200 in free bets. If they win, you win with promo code THPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, official sports betting partner of the NFL and NHL. Must be 21 years of age or older. You must reside in a DraftKings Sportsbook state. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Download the DraftKings app now. Sign up for an account and use the promo code THPN. All right, we move to Cowtown of the U.S. versus Cowtown of Canada. Dallas taking on Calgary. We've got Calgary minus 145, home favorites, 5.5, the total shaded to the under in this game. Calgary Flames. Look, you compare the game Calgary played against Philly, where they dominated. They had most of the quality chances, most of the shots on goal, and won 4-0. And you compare that to the game they actually lost, the last game against Nashville, 3-2 in overtime. You compare the two games and you say there's no difference. Calgary dominated. Calgary controlled the game. But obviously the difference was they won the Philly game, they lost the Nashville game. And it was just one of those games where, Nashville, a couple of chances they capitalized on, a couple good bounces, went Nashville's way on a couple of those goals. And it was a night where UC Saros was very tough to beat for Nashville. He was terrific in net. Calgary had their chances. They just couldn't finish. So it was a tough loss, but they played more than well enough to win once again. So plausibly, this could be a team on a 7-game win streak right now, because you could argue that even though they're 6-1, they had the streak snapped by Nashville. They could have won that game and probably should have won that game the other night. So, and I'm not rushing to back Dallas. There's something wrong. 4 straight losses for the Stars, to Columbus, to a banged-up Vegas team, to Ottawa at home, which is a really bad loss as a minus 200 favorite, and then against Winnipeg the other night. With them being rested, they hadn't played since last Friday against Ottawa. Winnipeg's coming back from being on the West Coast, and they lose that game as well, 4-3 to the Winnipeg Jets in a shootout. So this is just not a team I'm interested backing right now, Dallas. I said coming into the season I didn't like this team a whole lot. I thought they were going to trend downward, look to bet against Dallas in spots, and that's what I'm doing here. This is a spot, I think, to bet against Dallas. I'm on Calgary here, minus 145. You could go regulation for value, extra value, but I'm going to be a little bit more conservative and go with Calgary here, minus 140 to minus 145 on the full game money line instead. Alex, what about you, Stars and Flames?
Yeah, I actually did take Calgary in regulation. I got it at even money. Like I said, this is just a kind of more of a fade Dallas spot. And I mean, it is sort of backing Calgary too. I know, sometimes when we see teams go on win streaks and then finally get that first loss, you tend to want to go right back to fading them because they, can tend to, be deflated a little bit. But like I said, I just don't think that's the case here against this Dallas team that's just in poor form. I think they're just getting a better price here with Calgary in a better spot. And like I said, a spot worthy of fading Dallas. So I'm going with the regulation price for the Flames.
Yeah. And by the way, Braden Holtby he's come back down to earth after that incredible start he had in net for the Stars. And now they're going to go with Anton Hudobin. And boy, it's been very, very kind of shaky for him this year. 889 save percentage for Anton Hudobin. Again, a guy that was great in the playoff run for Dallas a couple years ago, but let's be honest, he's an older goalie now. He's been up and down. He's not a guy that starts every other day, every other night now. Hard to get in a rhythm, and we'll see if he can find it tonight. He'd better, because obviously Calgary in good form at the moment. Jimmy, Dallas, Calgary.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. I actually got 2 plays on this. I'm going to go right with you. I'm going to take Calgary in regulation. And then I also like the under in this as well. I just think, obviously, with the way that the goaltending has been for both teams, that's probably the only bright spot at times for Dallas has been their goaltending. So I could see a low-scoring, tight affair here. So give me the under and the Flames in reg.
All right, Flames in regulation and under 5.5. And Yeah, credit to Andrew, who said the other day that Dallas would play their first over of the season against Winnipeg, although it was a good setup when you look at it. Eric Comrie was in net that night for Dallas. The Jets have been trending over at home. Jets and the Wild, I've said this before, keep an eye on those teams at home. They've gone over the total in every home game this year, Minnesota and Winnipeg. That might be something you ride moving forward with their next games. Andrew, what do you think here, Dallas-Calgary?
Well, I mean, I think we have two teams that play, I think, well defensively, but we got a goalie in Markstrom that's just red hot right now. And his analytical numbers are up here, and eventually they're going to start to level out a little bit, but I'm not prepared for that to happen tonight. And I think we're going to see some regression for this Calgary Flames team in general soon, but it ain't going to be tonight against the Dallas Stars here. They can't trade goals with them. Dallas Stars they're going to feast on teams that play a tight checking game just like they do. And I think those are the games they'll win, or those are the games they'll get a point on, losing in overtime type of thing. I don't like to do this, but I kind of do it all the time. I take some anger I have from a loss I had recently and put that forward into the next game. But I got to say, I was tweeting this out, and you guys know those heat maps I've been posting a lot and talking about for shot charge and expected goals. Calgary should have dominated Nashville. I mean, the scoring chances they had were just unbelievable.
They were swarming the net. I was watching that game. They were swarming Nashville's net and Saros most of the game. Yep.
If you look at the dangerous scoring opportunities and where those came from for Nashville, you'd think they scored maybe one goal the entire game. And if you're a strong mental team, and you have a good coach, people love to hate on Sutter, but I think his system works for them. You bounce back and you keep doing what you did last game. And, you don't try and change anything. You say, guys, we played a good game, didn't get the result we wanted. Let's clean things up defensively and put forward a good effort again offensively. Because if I'm a coach, I can't be really mad offensively of what my team did. So I like Calgary. I'm willing to lay the price just simply based off Dallas seems to go to overtime every second game they play in. So give me Calgary on the money line.
All right, Calgary minus 140 here for Andrew in this game. All right, Buffalo and Seattle next up. The Sabres looking to put the Eichel trade behind them and focus on a game on the ice tonight in Seattle. The Kraken minus 190 to minus 200 I'm even starting to see with Seattle in this game as home favorites. 5.5 the total. So this is disappointing to me because Seattle's a team that at home I'm looking to back them. I am, but I'm not looking to back them at this price. Minus 190 to minus 200. There is some signs that maybe this unexpected strong first week or two, like with all strong starts to a Buffalo Sabres season, is starting to peter out, just like we've seen in recent years. I mean, we've seen Buffalo now lose 2 in a row. Shorthanded, depleted San Jose team beats them 5-3 the other night, and then they lose to LA 3-2. So I definitely think Seattle wins the hockey game, in my opinion. Back home, they played good enough to win every home game this year. Seattle, they actually outplayed the Rangers and should have won that game at home. That lost 3-1. They outplayed Vancouver, but Demko was very good that night at home in Seattle, and Vancouver won 4-2. And then the other 2 home games they did win. They beat Montreal. They beat Minnesota. So this team really could be 4-0 at home. They've played well enough to be 4-0 at home, the Kraken. But minus 200, no, not the right price for me, not the price range I'm comfortable with for Seattle. But the one thing we have seen consistently with them, even though the Seattle Rangers game, their last home game, stayed under, wasn't for lack of trying, and it wasn't for lack of generating chances in offense for the Kraken, because they had over 40 shots on goal. And you've got to believe against the Sabres defense, which is starting to crumble a bit. They gave up 5 to San Jose, 3 to LA, 3 to Anaheim. So 3+ goals allowed for the Buffalo Sabres in the first 3 games of this West Coast road trip. You got to think Seattle, if they're firing 30, 40 shots, which has been the norm for them here at home, they play with greater energy, I find, at home, and really try to be a little bit more aggressive offensively at Climate Pledge Arena, their home ice. I think you're going to see it translate on the scoreboard. So I like over 5.5 here with the Sabres and the Kraken tonight. Alex, Buffalo, Seattle.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on the over. I grabbed 5.5 at minus $1.10 yesterday, and I don't understand what this line move is all about. I get, okay, it's the end of the road trip for Buffalo, but we're seeing this, move up, like you said, up to $2 for Seattle. I don't know what would warrant that move right now, unless there's something that we don't know about. So I think we're going to see goals here. I think we will see some fatigue, like I said, from Buffalo, which would anticipate them allowing some goals, and like I said, Seattle, getting quality chances at home. I just think this is just going to be more of an up and down kind of game. And if things could get out of hand, and for Buffalo, and then that, like I said, it just adds to more goals. But I don't see where Seattle's just going to just run away with it and score 6 or 7 on their own, and warrant being the 2-1 favorite. So 5.5 is a good number. This still might be a pretty close affair though.
Yeah, and you would think after a loss to Edmonton for the Seattle Kraken, you'd think, they lost 5-2. Maybe they're not happy with their defensive game. No, if you talk to a lot of the players, they're actually more unhappy about the fact they had so many chances early in that game. They didn't finish any of them. So I think actually offense is their greater area of emphasis, believe it or not, going into this game tonight against Buffalo, which I think enhances the case for the over here tonight. Jimmy, what do you think? Buffalo, Seattle?
I'm going to jump on that over train as well, guys. I see a lot of goals happening tonight in Seattle. Should be a fun game. I know you look at those two teams and maybe not think that. It's not that attractive, but I think it could be a good back and forth game.
Yeah, definitely. Seattle team total, you could go that road as well. I lean to that. I just decided, because I do think Buffalo's offense is, they're getting guys to step up and produce for them. You would think, even with Middlestat and a couple other key players out, they've still been able to find the back of the net, the Sabres. And Grubauer has been, let's be honest, he's not been as good as he was last year so far with Colorado, so far with Seattle. So I think Buffalo can find the back of the net, and I certainly think Seattle will. What do you think, Andrew, here, Buffalo, Seattle?
Yeah, small lean towards Buffalo, but I like the over as well, just like you guys. The lean is just strictly a value point here. But yeah, I mean, you see the Sabres go up against the Ducks, Kings, Sharks, and now add the Kraken into that road trip mix here. It's the same recipe I often look for. Start of the road trip, I usually expect lower scoring games. Not really what we saw in that game for the Sabres against the Ducks. But I think that closing things out here, it's going to be a track meet, and playing a Kraken team who I think we've all agreed we think is going to be a more exciting team to watch at home. And what's funny about that, guys, is that like all of these guys, they're obviously it's their first time playing for this team, but there's just something about playing in front of your home crowd that I think that people might not think the basketball or hockey it's as big of a factor, but I think that for certain teams like the Kraken, it's going to be for sure, especially for totals wise. So I'll certainly be looking for more overs for them at home.
All right, there we go. Lean Buffalo, and liking the over here for Andrew with Buffalo, Seattle. All right, final game of this Thursday card, St. Louis Blues, San Jose Sharks. St. Louis minus 115, road favorites, 5.5 the total. This number's come down. St. Louis open minus 130, and now it's down to minus 115 in most spots. Of course, you want to keep an eye on the situation here for the San Jose Sharks. Of course, they've had a bunch of key absences on the COVID-19 list, and yet they've won both games despite all of these key absences. They beat the Jets in overtime on Saturday, and then of course they end up beating Buffalo 5-3 the other night. So give the Sharks credit. Matt Nieto, Marc-Edouard Vlasic, Timo Meier, Kevin Labanc, Erik Karlsson, among others that have been sidelined the last couple of games, and yet they've turned it on. They've turned it up. They've played a solid, sturdy game. They've still found ways to score goals and win these last two games. Can it keep up, though, indefinitely? Like, are they going to get any of these guys back tonight? Where it's a wait and see prior to game time. I'm trying to make a case for the Blues here in a bounce back spot after a tough shootout loss to the LA Kings last night. What a shootout that was, by the way. Back and forth it went, and the Kings got the victory over the Blues in a shootout. And the price now has gotten to the point where you're going to put these teams on a level playing field here, minus 110, minus 115, especially if the Sharks are shorthanded. Almost out of principle, I've got to back the Blues here on a second of back-to-back. But, I do want to see what they go with in net, because it looks like Joel Hofer might end up being the goaltender for no relation to Jimmy Hoffa. No, I'm kidding. That's not funny. Joel Hofer here for the St. Louis Blues.
Let's hope he doesn't get buried.
Yeah, let's hope he doesn't get buried. Yeah, by the San Jose Sharks tonight. Called up from the AHL. He'll be the backup to Binnington because Ville Husso's out in COVID protocol. So he might get his first start here for the St. Louis Blues. And we'll have to see how it goes for him here if he does indeed get the start. It's not confirmed, though, yet. So you could still see Binnington as, once again on the second night of back-to-back. So we'll lean Blues, but I haven't locked it in yet. I want to see lineups before the puck drop, but I lean St. Louis here. I just find it seems like even on a back-to-back on the road, and you get them off a loss too. So you got a St. Louis team that's probably looking to bounce back, play a better overall 60-minute game here against San Jose. And more than anything, I just don't know if the roulette wheel is going to keep coming up on black here for San Jose with all these absences. At some point they're going to feel them. And, they played Winnipeg at the end of a road trip and they played Buffalo. St. Louis is going to be a little bit different. So lean Blues, haven't pulled the trigger yet. We'll see what the lineups are, but it's St. Louis or pass for me in this game. Alex, what about you, Blues and Sharks?
Yeah, I like this first period over. You're only laying $1.15 with the 1.5. Aiden Hill's going in net. He has given up 3 or more goals in 4 of his first 5 starts this year. He said the Sharks are finding ways to score goals without many of their key players, like I said, being out with the COVID issue. And this is the second night of a back-to-back for St. Louis. That game last night was absolutely awesome to watch for a 3-2 shootout game, and I did pretty well myself. I ended up cashing 3 live bets. Actually, I had LA getting both goals in regulation on next to score props, and then I jumped in on a live money line, and it was kind of fortunate to get that because there was nothing but posts pretty much in that shootout frame where it looked like St. Louis was going to get lucky and win it, but then in the 4th frame it was LA taking the win. So I could definitely see, like I said, if it's Hofer and net, he's the guy I have ranked pretty low compared to Husso and Binnington. So this definitely would just lean to me going with the first period over.
All right, first period over for Alex with the Blues and the Sharks. Jimmy, St. Louis and San Jose.
Yeah, I like that first period over as well. But in terms of the side, I love the Sharks in this, guys. I think that this Sharks team, I'm starting to buy in with them, man. I mean, they are, we mentioned the Pittsburgh Penguins and all the adversity they've faced and how they keep fighting that adversity and coming through with all those guys out of their lineup. Well, look at the Sharks too. I mean, wait for them to kind of fade off, but I'll tell you, the future is looking bright. I don't think they're going to go on they could be in a playoff hunt at the end, but I mean, if you're a Sharks fan right now, enjoy this. It's a fun season that everybody wrote off already, and they're way overachieving. So enjoy it while it lasts here, and I like them taking advantage of a tired St. Louis Blues squad. Give me the Sharks on the money line here.
Yeah, I mean, San Jose's been impressive. I mean, other than running out of gas at the end of a long Eastern road trip against Boston and Nashville. They lost the last two games of that road trip. I think they were starting to run on fumes and a little exhausted, all the travel, and then they fell flat against Montreal, which we know San Jose long-term has been terrible. First home game off a very long road trip. And then they've bounced back since then and won 2 in a row. So you take out that 3-game stretch, end of a long road trip, the first home game off that long road trip, and they've won every other game this year, the San Jose Sharks. So, yeah, and I don't know if I truly feel like trying my luck 3rd time in a row against San Jose with all these absences. That's another thing that concerns me here. Andrew, Blues Sharks.
I like the full game over in this one. I think it's going to be a sloppy game. I think we should see some goals. And good point by Jimmy to bring up that they're another team, like you guys said, that hasn't really been mattered who's in or out. They're finding a way. And I feel like both teams will get on the board tonight. So full game over for me here.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd say too, guys. I mean, it's a long shot. You could throw like, I don't know, 10, $25 on it right now. But if you could get Jack Adams prop on Bob Bugner right now, I mean, this guy to me has been the best coach so far in the NHL with what he's done with this team.
Yeah, and especially with so much of the lineup out the last 2 games, and you find your way to victories against the Jets and the Sabres in the last 2 games. No, he definitely deserves a fair amount of credit.
And Mike Sullivan too. We mentioned the Penguins, so those 2 guys got to be considered through the first month of the season.
I don't think Sullivan gets enough credit, Jimmy, because he has such great stars on his team and great team players. But yeah, he's a good coach.
Look at what he's doing without those stars, right? So.
No, he's done good. The only thing I don't like what he did is that he never took Jari out. I'll go back to that again. He never took Jari out of that must-win game against the Islanders last year in the playoffs when it was like 5-3, and the guy's terrible. He's got nothing, and you don't give that backup goalie, who was it that night? Legacy, because I think DeSmith was injured at the time. He didn't go to Legacy at all. I don't care what you think about Legacy. And obviously they must think he's terrible goalie to not even like this guy had nothing, Jari, in that game. He was
Ian,
awful in that
I'll tell
game.
you what, I think I told you this before, but I saw a game in Ottawa. It was Sens versus Pens. And I swear to God, it was so funny. So the Senators actually blew out the Penguins, surprisingly enough.
Yeah.
And Jari got pulled. His backup came in. He got lit up, and then Jari came back in again. So sometimes it's kind of like you might as well keep this guy in and see if he can bounce back, because I don't think there's anything more embarrassing than when you pull a guy and then he ends up coming back out again. You don't see it often. You see it sometimes in junior, but at the NHL level, for your backup to get pulled, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, but in that Islander Penguin, that's the game the Penguins got eliminated in the Island last year in the playoffs. Yeah. If I'm sitting where Maxime Lagacé is and I'm him, and I'm seeing that 5-3, another goal right through the 5-hole and Jari goes in from the Islanders, I'm thinking they must think I'm some kind of shitty goaltender to not even get a chance now. One chance in net with this guy, with what he's doing out there right now.
It's
so that was the only thing I'll say bad about Mike Sullivan. Other than that,
I think it's a respect thing, though. It's kind of like you have to go with your guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I've coached sports at very obviously amateur levels, like high school. But if I'm playing in a big game and I've got one of my star players not playing well, at the end of the day, you kind of just, you go with your guy, you know, that's kind of, and I know it's a goalie and I know that it's playoffs and you got to be able to make moves, but sometimes you go with someone that you've been going with and you don't really want to just make changes. That's why I thought it was so crazy. Florida was, they have 3 or 4 goalies play last playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, Florida had a bunch of. They had Bobrovsky, Knight, Drieger. Did Montembeau, when he was still there, even get a couple of games? I'm sure he did. So yeah, they had just a bunch of different goalies playing for them last year, and they all contributed. And I think they're happy with the 2 reliable guys they've got now. Though they've fixed it, Bobrovsky and Knight. They've got a nice duo going right now with the Florida Panthers in between the pipes. Great show, Thursday card, a lot of games. Alex, Jimmy, and Andrew, the whole crew on the show today. Great to have them. Thanks to everyone for joining us live, as always, on the show. We'll wrap up the show now with best bets for this Thursday card. Alex, what do you got for best bet?
We will go with Florida-Washington draw plus 320. I feel like this is going to be a game that's going to be pretty close and tight. And Florida, feeling kind of the injury bug biting them a little bit. So I expect this to be a 2-2 or a 3-3 game after 60 minutes, and we're getting a good price there. So Caps, Panthers draw plus 320 is my best bet.
All right, Washington, Florida draw plus 320. Best bet for Alex B. Smith. Jimmy Murphy, best bet.
I'm going to go with that under in the Isles-Habs game, guys. The under 5.5 there. So that will be my bet.
All right, Islanders, Canadiens under 5.5 minus 135. Jimmy Murphy's best bet. Andrew McInnis, best bet.
I'm going to rock with Sens and Golden Knights over the total. You know, I think that Vegas, they're not happy about their defensive performance by any means against the Leafs, but I feel like we're still going to see the Senators get some of their own, and I think Vegas bounce back offensively. So I keep saying this. If I keep getting 5.5 with the Senators, I'll keep finding a reason to potentially look for an over.
All right, there we go. Vegas, Ottawa, over 5.5. Best bet for Andrew McInnis. And my best bet is, hopefully, never mind release the Kraken, release the goals, release the red light tonight in the Emerald City. Buffalo, Seattle, over 5.5 tonight for my best bet. Sabres and Kraken for this Thursday card. And that'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. We thank everybody in the chat for joining us live. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week on YouTube, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Make sure you download that podcast. For Alex B. Smith, Jimmy Murphy, Andrew McInnis, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll talk to you again tomorrow on Friday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.